technique that would. Howdy, Bob Brown again. So like most top arm wrestlers, I'm constantly being asked, what's more important, strength or technique? The short answer, strength. Always will be, always has been. Just share a few things here. The only reason to ever develop technique at all is because you're not strong enough to simply go like this, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we start here, we finish here. So going sideways is the most important thing. And then one of Travis Badgin's quotes that I remember was, your desire to create back pressure is in direct correlation of your fear of that guy's side pressure. And it's true, because if you were just strong enough to go like this with whoever was on this side of the table, that's all you would do. If you were strong enough to just plant a hook and go like this, that's what you would do. So the only reason technique ever came into our sport was because a weaker guy wanted to find out a way to be the stronger guy. The top roll, when first created, who knows how long ago, used to be considered cheating. You had to come into a hook and you had to go like this. As soon as they started attacking a man's hand, they used to call fouls and said, you can't do that. Because the second you created the top roll, it was still a strength sport, but all of a sudden the strength transferred from your arm and your shoulder to your hand and your wrist. All of a sudden, this became more about hand, forearm, pronation than it did pure arm power. The guys who like pure arm power love sit-down arm wrestling. Richard Lupke's loves sit-down arm wrestling. Why? Because, in my opinion, in John Brzezink's opinion, Richard Lupke's is just the strongest arm wrestler he's ever faced, ever. Just sheer power. The guy's ability to just stand here and go like that. Of course, and then John had to figure out how he's going to beat this guy that even John says is stronger than him. He had to get deep inside on a hook, get him on his bicep, had to get out on his hand, top roll him. That's where technique comes from. You know, when you continue to talk about strength versus technique, I've always said, you know, two guys get together and arm wrestle each other. They're pretty close. One of them wins. I could probably tell the other guy a little bit of technique, bring him back, and the other guy would probably win. But as soon as you tell both guys the same technique, all of a sudden it comes back down to strength. Is my hand stronger than yours? Is my hand stronger than your back pressure versus your hand stronger than my back pressure? Is my ability to sink you into a hook? It still comes down to strength. So at the end of the day, it's still strength. There was some talk about the Europeans versus USA and how Europeans are stronger and Americans rely more on technique. Well, that's because it's been around a lot longer in the US. We've already had the situations where a weaker guy wanted to figure out how to beat a stronger guy. So he developed a technique that would combat the stronger guy. It's starting to happen in Europe, you know. I would argue that there's a lot of monster arm wrestlers that really don't know how to arm wrestle. They're just that strong. How well is Kazimir Zolov, in my opinion, the pound for pound strongest arm wrestler in the world? You notice you never see him top roll. And then when someone is finally able to top roll him, he doesn't have a great top roll to combat it. I've seen, how many times have you seen matches where the guy just hits and can't finish, and hits and can't finish, and hits and can't finish? He just keeps hitting the exact same way. It's because that guy doesn't know how to top roll, whoever that is. I've watched matches of a lot of legendary arm wrestlers that have developed their one-hit move so strong that it's taken them to the top of the world, you know, or they've developed multiple moves that are just so strong. But I've seen two great hookers. I remember watching Rustam Babayev and Hazimir Zolov again, and they were in a hook match. And this was after the Worlds in 2008, I believe. And they just kept, neither one of them could finish the other. But what I noticed is neither one of them tried to adjust their position to gain more leverage to then finish the other. And I realized in that moment, these guys don't know how to arm wrestle. They're just unbelievably strong, you know? And so if you really want to be a top guy today, of course, at the end of the day, strength beats everything, you know? I know exactly how to beat Rustam Babayev, Hazimir Zolov, Engin Tirzii, but I could never do it. I don't have the strength to pull it off. There's no way. Now, you take a guy like John Brzenk, the greatest arm wrestler of all time. In my opinion, he is, and most people's opinion, he is. And what made John so great? Well, his hand was unbelievably strong. His arm was unbelievably strong. Most people don't have an unbelievable top roll and an unbelievable hook. Most don't. So, John, he would try to top roll someone. And if he couldn't top roll the person, instead of doing what a top roller would do and adjust his top roll technique, John would just grip him and put him in a hook. Or vice versa. If he put someone in a hook and couldn't beat him in a hook, instead of adjusting his hook and trying to find more leverage in the hook, he would just top roll. And that's what made John so great. And then his ability to switch in the middle of the match from a hook to a top roll to a press, you know, that what makes an unbelievable arm wrestler. So at the end of the day, you got to get strong, but technique is crucially important. I know Engin Tirzii has a match coming up against the gentleman that beat him. I honestly don't remember his name, but I watched the match where Engin lost. And Engin kept coming across, if I remember, my memory is terrible. Anyone who knows me, I'll tell you that's true. But I remember Engin took the guy's hand and either couldn't finish him, or ended up fouling out. And I just remember thinking, if he'd have brought him back to center, walked his thumb just a teeny little bit, and went back down, I think he'd have finished him. And Engin is someone who can hook, he can top roll, he can do it. He's like John. He can do everything. But even like John, the little intricacies of a top roll and the little intricacies, if that's a word, of a hook, John doesn't need to know them. He's never needed them. Richard Lupke's, for the first 20, 30 years of his career, he never needed to know how to top roll because he could just simply take everyone and go like this. You know, if you're in basketball and you're 10 feet tall and all you got to do is stand under the bucket and go like that, why would you ever have to learn how to dribble? Someone's just going to throw you the ball and you're going to put it in. There are some monster strong guys out there that have worked out unbelievable, and I wish I had their power and their strength, that didn't have to learn the finer points of technique. Devin Lorette. The reason he has mastered technique so well is because when you compare him to the elites, he's not that strong. He's not that crazy strong. You know, he's not Simplinkov strong. He's not Levon strong. Okay? He's not Dave Chafee strong. But he's strong enough in the areas he needs to be to counter move and beat people he's not strong enough to beat. So at the end of the day, I think Europeans are stronger than Americans. I think Americans are better arm wrestlers, and by Americans I mean Canada, you know, Northern American area. The areas that have been arm wrestling for a very long time, you know, Brazil has been arm wrestling longer than the European countries. But when Europeans started, like everything else, they thought it's all about strength. And what do? They got freaking strong. And they've mastered how to get strong. And then people will always say, oh, well, they're taking steroids over there. That's the only reason they're strong. No, that's not the only reason they're strong. They're strong because they have dedicated their lives to being strong, and they've really mastered how to get strong. So, what's more important, technique or strength? Strength by 51%. Ask questions. Hope you enjoyed it.